Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Salmons, and in each episode we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Shari Berg, founder of The Right Reflection. Shari brings over 25 years of experience across journalism, public relations, and content marketing, and has built a business focused on helping brands create high-quality, research-driven content that actually connects with people. Her approach is rooted in journalistic storytelling, going beyond surface-level content to create narratives that build trust, authority, and long-term engagement. Shari, welcome to Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate being here.
It's a pleasure to have you, and I'm very much excited to dive in and learn a little bit more about your journey. So, Shari, with all of my guests, I do actually like to start at the beginning. So if you don't mind briefly taking me back to what it was you was doing before you started up The Right Reflection, and then from there, what was the motivation behind it?
Okay. Before I started The Right Reflection, I worked as a journalist for over a decade. And journalism was my passion. I knew I wanted to do that from the time I was very young. And so I worked for small community newspapers, as I said, for over 10 years, mostly covering education and politics, occasional stuff thrown at me from other things, courts, features, you name it, I wrote about it. So when I decided to leave journalism, I knew I wanted to continue to use those skills. I knew they were important and they would be valuable for helping businesses. So with that in mind, in 2005, I started The Right Reflection. And the whole goal was to make sure that I could provide quality content services and not to, large corporations. I was focused primarily on small to medium-sized businesses, more so small businesses than anything else, because they just struggle to get the help that they need with the budgets that they have, to be honest with you. There are a lot of marketing agencies out there, but they're just priced right out of many businesses' budgets. And I wanted to make sure that I was filling that gap.
Amazing stuff. And so, obviously, with that being said, did you always have a little bit of a burning ambition to be an entrepreneur as well? Or was that just something that naturally happened as you realized you could take, obviously, your journalism and storytelling background into content creation and marketing from there?
Yeah, I think it's just something that happened one day. To be honest, I left journalism because I was looking for more flexibility.
Yeah.
I started a family. I wanted to be able to work when I wanted to. I wanted to be able to do the things um, career-wise that I wanted to. I didn't want to have to be forced to um, take on jobs that I didn't like or that I didn't feel aligned with my values and my goals. So for me, it just was a natural progression.
Amazing stuff. So yeah, and building that life around your job and vice versa is obviously a great privilege
Yes.
to have for being an entrepreneur. So that's a really cool aspect jumping into it. And naturally they do marry very well together. Obviously, the point of storytelling, building trust comes very good with journalism and the way you guys use your words and your language to just impersonate other people and obviously connect with people in the end of that as well. So that's a really
Yeah.
cool aspect.
Yeah, and it's
So
it's not even just the storytelling part of it. It's the ability to know how to do research, to do interviews. You know
mm,
how important it is to do a quality interview with somebody if you want to get their voice, if you want to understand their business and their niche.
yeah.
It's so all of that background was really important to what I was trying to do when I started this business.
Absolutely, something I didn't even consider, as you say, more of the media side of journalism as well, which comes into play, as you say, if you're diving deeper, working and connecting with the clients as well as the audience that they're looking to connect with, is a really cool aspect. So let's dive into the right reflection a little bit more, just so the listeners can have some context moving forward. So Sherry, you mentioned there obviously 2005 is when we started up the business. So
Yeah.
naturally, at this point in, who would you say like is your ideal client? Like, who is it that you very, very much love to work with the most? And then from there, how is it you help them, and how do you support them along their own journey?
Mhm. My ideal client was, again, the small businesses. I have a few clients that I would describe as medium sized, but really my passion point is helping those small businesses. I'm a small business myself. I consider myself a small business. I know the struggles, and I know that there are a lot of small businesses out there that they're failing because they don't have access to good marketing.
Yeah.
They just can't afford it. So, my bent was always finding the people who needed my services and working within their budgets. It's how I started, and it's still where I am today, and I think it served me very well.
That's really cool to hear. And as you say, just fighting for that little man because naturally with marketing as well, it's such a catch 22, it's forever changing. You need to put a load of money in and your own investment into it yourself, and then on top of the agency fees that some people charge, as you're saying, it's just a little bit of a piss take, we would say in the UK. I don't know any other
Yeah.
word for it at the moment. So it's nice that we are kind of rooting for underdog, and as you say, just being part of the team, helping them out and moving them forward.
Yeah.
And like, so what is it like to work with you, Shari? How is it you kind of integrate yourself into these businesses and help them with that marketing aspect?
Hmm. Well, one of the things that I think makes my business unique is that I'm very hands-on with my clients. I know some of the larger marketing agencies, they're not. They're large. They have a lot of clients. They have a lot of people working for them, and it's easy to get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
I've had a few clients come to me after that experience and saying, we need a little bit more personalized attention. We don't want to feel like we're just, a number or money in the bank account at the end of the month when the invoice comes due. We need to have that relationship. And, that's something that was important to me. And it's a skill that I learned as a journalist was relationship building. There's a value in building a relationship with your clients so that you truly understand what are their goals, what are their motivations, who are they trying to reach. I don't think you can do those things and be effective at content marketing if you haven't built a relationship first. So that's what people can expect from me. If they call me on the phone, I answer the phone. If they email me, I get back to them. I get that a lot. People were shocked that I actually get back to them. I'll have people respond to me in an email and say, "You answered me." Of course I did. That's the kind of relationship I want to have with the people that I'm helping.
Love it. So as you say, very personal based, very much
Yes.
in the trenches with them, taking their hand, and as you say, you're on the end of that call as well when it comes to it. And I feel like, especially within your space, within the marketing, AI is playing a big part at the moment, in kind of overriding that more relational based approach. And people are just leaning on it a little bit too much, in my opinion. So it's nice again that
Yeah.
we bring that back very much in the trenches with them and moving forward from there. Is there a particular sector or like industry that you like to work with the most, or is it just very varied depending on the client?
Honestly, no. Part of the reason I was a journalist was because I'm just naturally curious and I'd like to learn new things. So the only industries that I tend to shy away from are like the cryptocurrency and the financial stuff, because I find it painful to write about, if I'm being honest. And so
Yeah.
and there are plenty of writers who are really good at that and they're skilled at that, and that's their niche. It's not for me. But anybody else, I mean, I have clients that are in energy procurement. I have clients that are in education. I have clients that have cleaning businesses. I had a client for a while that was like a garbage type rental service where they would come and rent dumpsters. They would rent cleanup services for you. So I don't really shy away from anything. I just find it all very interesting. And as long as I feel like I can truly help the person, then it's fair game for whoever would like, to be a
Awesome.
client. I don't discriminate based on a specific niche or industry.
That's good to hear. So as you say, as long as there's a little bit of interest in there from you, we can pretty much help everybody on that level. I understand what we're
Yes.
saying about more of the stock based, maybe even e-commerce, a little bit boring sometimes. So bringing that back to have some interest, so at least you can spark up your imagination for yourself as well. Again, just getting down to that more relational based approach. Now, one thing I'm very curious to find out, and actually with your background and your experience, is how you go about marketing yourself. So like in terms of channels or methods, like what are you really finding most effective at the moment, Shari, and just finding those right people to work with?
Honestly, two sources. A lot of my new clients come from referrals from existing clients. And I consider that, a win, because when you make current clients happy, and they recommend you to others, I mean, that's
Yeah.
low effort as far as, well, some marketers consider that low effort, um, as far as the marketing that you're putting into your own business and the investment that you're making. So for me, primarily, I make sure that I'm making my current clients happy because I know that pipeline is there and they are recommending me. The other area that I've found that works really well is LinkedIn. I've
Hmm.
spent a lot of time on LinkedIn over the last year and a half, just building up my profile, demonstrating my expertise. And then I also use it to just kind of go in there and find my ideal clients. And then I
Okay.
interact with these people, whether that's commenting helpfully on a post that they've made, or, engaging with them in a particular group that I'm in on LinkedIn. I do a lot of that, and I find it's been very effective at getting that relationship building part of acquiring a new client. Once people trust you and realize that you know what you're talking about, then they're more open to pitch when you pitch your services to them.
Yeah, 100%. And LinkedIn is such a great platform to do that, as you say, especially if you are doing outreach yourself, pinpointing who you want to talk to and just building those connections with the value, the authenticity you are giving out to people. Naturally, you hope those right kind of people will fall at your feet and will find you as well. And then from there, you can take on that that relationship forward. And then obviously referrals, yes, an amazing job. I just for me it just shows kudos to the work you are doing because it does take effort to get a good referral system coming in because you do have to put the work in with your clients to make sure they are obviously recommending you as a service. So for me it takes a lot of effort to kind of build that kind of system as well. The only thing
Yes.
is we hoped I think most founders wish they was a little bit more consistent than what they are so you could
Yeah.
basically rely on them forever. So you've got a little bit of it too, which is good. And do you run any form of like paid advertisements or anything just to maybe bring a little bit more of consistency to your lead flow?
I do, but I don't spend a lot of money that way. And the reason that is because anytime I've invested money in a paid advertising, I've not really gotten that return on the investment.
Yeah.
For me, it's just not there. I do have a dedicated salesperson who helps me, and she helps with generating some warm leads, and then I will do that personal outreach to the person. But the paid ads, uh, it's just not, it's just not, it hasn't been, a good return on the investment for me. So I don't put as much effort into that area of marketing my own business as I probably should. But again, I'm choosing to focus on what I know works.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. And I take it with you kind of pushing the adverts out on LinkedIn
Mhm.
as a platform. It can be a very hard platform to move it on. Again, the return on investment is not great as a service from that kind of thing. I would always stick to cold outreach as well. There are other platforms that do good that you could kind of shuffle around and then move it towards LinkedIn.
Mhm.
But as a platform to run ads, I agree with you. It's not very lucrative and a little
No,
bit cost effective as well. So yeah. And then
for
you
sure.
mentioned that you have a salesperson helping out. So like what does that team dynamic look like? Who is kind of wearing some of the hats that Sherry doesn't have to?
Well, this person, she's actually kind of a blessing because she's gifted in sales and she's gifted in content writing. So if I ever need her to wear either one of those hats, she's
Cool.
right there. She's one of those rare people that I know I can depend on. But as far as sales, she does a lot of deep diving. She knows the areas that I like, that I prefer, the type of relationships that I'm looking for with clients, and then she targets people that fit that demographic. And she does a lot of the research first. We'll talk about, are these good potential leads? And then from there, we'll decide, is she going to reach out to them on my behalf, or is it someone that I can connect with on LinkedIn? Is it someone that's in a virtual networking group that I'm in that I could reach out to? So we kind of decide from there what would be the best approach. There was even one year where I was targeting, I'd worked with a couple real estate agents, and they found a lot of value in what I was doing and said, hey, you should market to some other real estate agents that could really use your services. So we focused on that for a while. And my salesperson, the area that she lived in, because we're all different places, with my company,
Modern world. Yeah.
she actually did an old fashioned door to door, hit the pavement with her business cards and just meeting people, given that FaceTime, which, is so important nowadays because a lot of times it's just people cold pitching you in your DMs on LinkedIn or sending you an email
Yeah.
that doesn't even really speak to your business. But so she did the door to door, and I ended up with quite a few warm leads just from that effort.
Nice. So yeah, as you say, hitting the pavement, getting those face-to-face
Yes.
connections, and LinkedIn can be a much like a swap and meet, as you say. It's very hard people just pitch you, you pitch them, and you kind of leave each other alone a lot of times. So
Yeah.
it's nice that you're building more of a connection-based system into it, and as you say, using your initiative and just getting out there and meeting people is a really cool way to do that as well. But it sounds like you have a nice balance, so you can very much tag team throughout the business, and she takes a lot of those roles that do take a lot of time. So at least as a founder, you can just continue on doing what you need to do as well. And then I suppose with all that being said, like what are your visions or your ambitions for the company moving forward? Like when you think of maybe the next 6, 12 months, like what are the goals or the targets you're looking forward to achieving?
Right now, if we're in maintenance mode. Um, I know that a lot of companies are obsessed with the focus on growing and scaling. And I think that can be a mistake, especially right now, because the market is really bad right now. There are a lot of businesses that are struggling. They're cutting budgets, and one of the first things they always cut is their marketing spend. It happens. It's not smart, but they still do it anyway. So for us, we're focused right now on maintaining the relationships that we currently have, because I also know that's a good source of warm leads from
Yeah.
recommendations. So right now, I would call it more maintenance mode with us and nurturing what we have. We're not ignoring the possibility of generating some new leads, but it's just not the top priority at the moment.
Yeah. So just keep coming, as you say, maintaining what you're doing and
Yes.
keeping those relationships with your clients and just keep building on that respect moving forward. Amazing
Yeah.
stuff. And where are you probably finding the biggest challenge for yourself at the moment, either like within the business or even just, keeping that pace that you're looking for?
Mhm. Honestly, for me, my biggest challenge is fulfillment. The model that I have, the business model that I have, is I'm working solely with contractors. Um, I don't really have a desire to become one of those large marketing agencies that I was talking about earlier that have, hundreds of employees. That's never been my goal. I think it's kind of counter to my personal mission to give that kind of personal touch service to my clients. So because I have contractors versus employees that are helping me, that fulfillment can be, a big problem for me sometimes if I get a new customer, and I don't have the capacity to serve them at the moment. That's I would say right now that's probably the biggest challenge that I'm facing, and I have some ideas on how to overcome that. But for right now, that's definitely kind of a roadblock for me. And it's also part of the issue with scaling any further at the moment.
Yeah, you kind of hit that kind of imaginary ceiling that a lot of founders do get to, when you, especially when you are still within some foot's in the weeds, some foot's are in fulfillment. So it's just making sure that you are kind of muddling along where you can and moving on from there. So I imagine half of that would be finding the right people to be involved as well,
Yeah.
which is half of the challenge as a founder is aligning yourself with other people with your mission, protecting that baby you've built for so long. And amazing stuff. I suppose if you could have like an influx of resources into the business, what would be the first thing that you do with it?
Um, find ways to fill that fulfillment gap. That would be a top priority. And also, as we kind of touched on earlier, maybe invest in a little bit more paid advertising.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, I don't do much of it now because it just wasn't paying off. But I think if you're going to do it, go big or go home is kind of the way to go. And most paid marketing reps will tell you that. I know there are untapped places online that I could be advertising. Google Ads is one of them. So that would be another area that I would want to focus on for sure.
So yeah, bringing in that consistency that we're looking for in the lead flow. Again, it helps out with time. So at least when ads are running, you're not putting so much effort into outreach because naturally you're attracting the right kind of person instead of reaching out to them. So yeah, it helps out on both ends of that. It's a nice double-edged sword there. And there's one final question to you, Shari, before we log out. So if you could go back in time to a younger self and you could only leave yourself with one piece of advice moving forward, something you know now, but that you didn't know back then, what would you say to yourself?
Um, Honestly, stop listening to people that have no stake in your business. I think that's the biggest mistake that business owners and founders make is that they seek advice from people who haven't been there, haven't done that, and really don't know what it's like. And they'll offer some really, really bad advice. I mean, it sounds good at the time, but because they don't have that experience, you listen to them and then things don't go well. So that
Yeah.
would be the one piece of advice I would give myself is, don't listen to all the critics. Don't listen to people that don't know what it's like to try to build something from scratch. Go to the people who have done it and spend time, talking with them about their failures, their challenges, their successes, how they went from where they were to where they are. That would be the one thing that I would tell myself.
I love that and could not agree more. And Shari, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us. Where can our listeners reach out best to work with you or connect with you if they would like to do so?
They can find me on LinkedIn. I'm under Shari Berg. I also have a company page under the Right Reflection, but to be honest, find me on my personal profile. It's where I spend the most time. I also have a website, therighreflection.com, and I have a Substack newsletter under Shari Berg at substack.com. So you can also find me there.
Amazing stuff. And thank you again for joining me. I really appreciate your time today. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to go and check out Shari Berg. As you just said, drop her a message. I'm sure she would love to hear from everybody. And do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from $0 to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep on climbing and we'll see you on the next one.